So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back once again to the greatest watch market update show in the world. As you guys know, this is the only public service watch announcement channel out there. We're the only one. We're the only one with the truth. We carry around the truth all day long. Every day we have the truth for you guys. And we only ask you for one favor, not to forget to give us a thumbs up like this gentleman right here. He just gave us a thumbs up. He gave us a Brit boy gave us a thumbs up. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, you may also do that. All right, guys? So, I'm asking you that from the bottom of my heart. This is a public service watch announcement channel, and not many people out there are going to give you the information that we're going to give you because, we want to give you this information because it's to your advantage to know what's going on. All right? So just to let you know about that. Don't forget that. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the show. And I want to start by telling all of you that it's been an unbelievable day in the precious materials. Saludos, Doc Mick of Florida. Saludos. Precious metal materials I get happy. I get happy when I hear numbers like rhodium. Saludos, saludos. Saludos, Mike. Saludos, Doc Mick of Florida. Saludos to all of you. Cruz, all of you here. Saludos to all of you. Exactly. We are, we try to bring you everything that's happening out there so you guys can defend yourself. And I spoke to you guys regarding precious metal materials, gold, platinum, palladium, silver. Saludos, saludos. Alberto, saludos. Robert Taylor, excuse me, Robert, saludos. I try to give all of you, what's happening out there. And I spoke to all of you a couple of weeks and I was telling you, listen, don't let that go. Precious metals, get you scared. It doesn't scare me. And as you can see today, it's been an unbelievable day in the precious metal materials. As you guys know, palladium, the price of palladium is $1,438 a troy ounce. It's unbelievable. Platinum is at $1,612 a troy ounce. Silver has left me today like, wow, silver. Like I told you that, Costco doesn't have no silver and no gold, but silver today is at $50. The troy ounce of silver, it's at $50.52 a troy ounce. And ladies and gentlemen, to my amaze, gold is at $4,117 a troy ounce. 4,100. It already made it to the 100 already. Yeah. But I want to let you know the reason that this is going crazy is because the dollar all over the world, forget about the States, all over the world is, going wacko. So, when these things happen, the world is not doing well. All right. So just to let you know what's going on. All right. I also wanna say something to you about how the situation economically is out there. I always try to tell you something so you know why the watch industry is behaving the way it's behaving. It's erratic like this, up and down. The prices that, all these different platforms that you look at, like, 23 Chrono, Jobs, watches, what I'm trying to say, analytics, chart watch, or watch, whatever you call it. They give you all these prices, but ladies and gentlemen, the watch industry right now is upside down. So you have to be very, very careful because está mal, la situación está mal out there. And I'm going to tell you something that, maybe to you it's not important, but you guys heard of AMC theaters, right? AMC theaters, when you go to a theater with your girlfriend, you buy 2 tickets, a pack of Chewy, popcorn, and 2 soda pops. You probably spend there $50, $50. But ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that AMC theaters in the United States has been cutting ticket prices, to a 50%, to a 50%. You know, in other words, if the tickets cost, you understand me, $20, $14, now it's gonna cost you $7 every every Tuesday and Wednesday. You know, that's how bad the situation is with movie theaters. Nobody's going to the movies. Nobody wants to go to the movies no more, because to go into the movies, you can buy groceries. You know, you can buy groceries, you can buy formula for your children, you know, pancake and all that good stuff. So things are not real good out there, you know? But that's AMC theaters. But you guys have heard of Regal theaters, you know, Regal theaters. Regal Theaters has announced, Regal Theaters has announced that from this month, all the way to the end of the year, every day, you know, Monday through Sunday, any hour of the day, you can go to the movie theater for $7.99. You know, this Regal Theater charges you $16 to go see a movie, but now it's $7.99. That's how bad things out there with, you know, with the people economically. No hay dinero, papi. There's no money out there. Saludos, Sori. There's no money out there. So I told you all these things so you know what's going on, so you get a feel, because you know none of you are hearing these things. You know what it is? A theater. A theater was an outing to go out with your wife, your children. You can't go to the theater no more because it'll cost you $100. You know, you go, your wife, and your two children. You spend $100 in a theater, and you can spend $100 buying grocery goods. So you know that's how things are with theaters. Ladies and gentlemen, you gotta also know that we are in our, you know, $20 a hot dog. You know what is that? $20 a hot dog. You know, you can't go. You know, so honestly, guys, you're not gonna be seeing exactly that other company, Fletflix, whatever you call it, Fletflix. It has finished with the theater, you know. You got a movie now in Fletflix that my wife wants to see tonight called Frankenstein, you know, Frankenstein, Victor and Frankenstein, you know. So you got that there. So people are like, you know, yeah, you know, forget about the movie theater, you know. Going to the theater costs $100 for people, you know. It costs you $100. And I know that a lot of you're not following up on what's happening. It happens, guys, you know. I gotta be very careful. It happens, guys. You know, I got to be very careful. You know, the words I use. This is why I have to give you subliminal. You know, I'm back, guys. Can you hear? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I want you guys to hear me. You know, it's a thunder lightning. When you use certain words, they press on you. They get you. So I gotta you know be very very careful. So you know what I'm trying to say. All right, guys. So we got that part. Yeah, but we took care of it. We took care of it. You know. Sweet Kid Kino already was fixing the antenna, and we're good to go. If it happens that you know that we get off the air, we'll do it another day. But I'm gonna try my best to finish with this for you guys, right? To finish this for you guys. So you know we have a lot of things happening right now. You know we have, ladies and gentlemen, we have a situation that we are in our 40th day of the shutdown. 40th day of the shutdown. You know, so saludos, Mr. Donut. You know, we're in the 40th day of our shutdown, and things are not looking good. You have people, you know, with the EBT, with the SNAP, you know, with the WIC and all that stuff. It's a big, you know, it's a big situation, not good. You know, it's not a good thing, ladies and gentlemen. So we have to be paying attention to what's going on. I also want to tell you guys something, and it's kind of sad because you know I understand that many people need to get this help. But ladies and gentlemen, I spoke to you about this subject, and some of you were just, you know, I don't know. And I told you that, you know, when the guy from Pennsylvania was in office, he gave away some stimulus checks. I always tell you that, right? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how true that is. I got you guys here, that you guys are part of this show, but they're saying that they're going to be giving out $2,000 to each person in America. If you're not rich, you're gonna get $2,000 per person. And I'm gonna tell you, ladies and gentlemen, basically, I see that all these people they're gonna get $2,000 is basically to get a starter watch, a luxury starter watch. A Tag Heuer, a Breitling. So basically, this is gonna get all these people crazy. They want to watch. They get $2,000. How true is that? Can anybody tell me if that's true or it's not true? Are they going to be giving out $2,000 again in stimulus check? Can anybody tell me that? Because this is crazy what's happening. They're giving out money to all these people again, and I thought it was basically for the people, it's what it is, Eh, Okay, so that I say again, they say that they're opening up, the shutdown, but they say there has to be on Wednesday or something to that, exactly. You know what I'm trying to say, creative. You know what I'm trying to say. So the people are going bananas again. They're going bananas again. They're counting their eggs because $2,000. I'll take my wife's 2,000. That's four. I'm ready for a Rolex, I'm ready for a Rolex, because this is how they're thinking, they're thinking, I'm ready for a Rolex. So, it's, I don't know what's going on no more, but I told you one thing. I told you that Kashi had the over under 39. And ladies and gentlemen, this is our 40th day. So whoever pay the over, they're cashing in. They're making some money, all right? They're making some money. And it is what it is. But I just wanted to let you know about that stuff because you guys need to know what's going on. You guys need to know what's going on. I also want to say something. If you've noticed that on your phone, you've been getting a lot of spam, you have countries, like let's say, India, they're going through a situation over there too that, there's not a lot of money over there and the people are, looking to fend themselves. So, we're getting a lot of spam phone calls from that side of town trying to generate business. Or if that's happening to you, that's where it's coming from. It's the spam. I don't know. It's everywhere. You look at the phone, it's an unknown number, it's spam. You don't know what's going on. Not spam the can, exactly. Not spam the canned food. Spam. They'll call you up, hey, you want to buy this? This, that. So, just to keep on letting you guys know what's going on. La situación está jodida, papi. Another thing that I want to tell, this guy from Pennsylvania Avenue was trying to make, deals with, all these different countries, over there too, about, in India, they're trying to get these medicines, these medicines for, for people they drink it because they're kind of overweight. He's trying to do it, get a better price on these people. It's called the GLP-1 drugs, so weight loss drug, and they're working with this subject about that. I got to tell you all these things so you know what's going on, how the world is. The world is upside down. No matter what they keep on telling you that it's not, the world is upside down. And I need to tell you that, all right? So we cover all that. I want to talk about a watch. I want to talk about another watch that a lot of you need to look into it because it's a watch that basically, if you look at it, I spoke to you the other day about the IWC engineer, that it has some kind of a look like a Patek, Nautilus, like an AP Jumbo, right? The engineer, all that stuff. And that guy, he did it, that guy. He's the master. That guy is the Picasso of making watches. But ladies and gentlemen, there's another watch. And this watch is from another company, and another watch company. And they try to, they were doing their thing. I honestly believe that they were studying. Yeah, well, this is another one now, Mr. Don. I want you to hear this. It's another one now. And this watch is from the watchmaker Gerald Perregaux. Gerald Perregaux. And Gerald Perregaux also made a beautiful watch, which is the Gerald Perregaux Loretto, right? The Loretto watch. And let me tell you something, this is another watch that if you look at it, you say to yourself, man, it has an octagonal Talking the Loretto, the Loretto. You look at it, it's one of a very very strong company back in the day. I don't know what's happening today, but back in the day it was. And these people in Loretto, they had a bunch of designers there, and they were trying to figure a design. Again, they're looking at the Patek Philippe Nautilus. They're looking at the AP Royal Oak Jumbo. They're looking at the IWC Engineer. And this guy is just, killing it, making all these watches. He was the Picasso of designing watches. So the people from Gerard Perregaux were looking and they were looking and they were stretching their head and they started making a design. They started making a design, which is the Gerard Perregaux Loretto. And, people were saying, who did this? Who was the one that did this design? Who did this design? They were thinking that it was an architect by the name of Adolfo Natalini. Adolfo Natalini. They thought that Adolfo Natalini was the one that designed that beautiful octagonal, nice dial, nice bracelet, and all that good stuff. And these watches, ladies and gentlemen, these are beautiful watches, and they're nothing near to a Patek Philippe or to a AP, and I'm gonna give you something so what to look, and you can find these watches very economic. And I don't know how much, but you can find it very economic, and they're good watches. They're made very well. I don't know how their movements are, but man, you look at the watch and if you guys, I'm gonna tell you something. If you take a Patek Philippe Nautilus 5711, man, it honestly, I can say this because I have one. It's like you're wearing a sardine can, bracelet and casing. To be honest, a sardine can, and you take one of those watches, an IWC Engineer, you take a Gerard Perregaux Loretto, and you look at it, and man, they're made solid, solid, no pins, Patek is still doing pins, and you know what I'm trying to say. Exactly, yeah. But again, this watch, they're doing it with a beautiful blue dial. They're doing it with a green dial, the Loretto, the Gerard Perregaux Loretto, and they're doing it in a 38 millimeter casing. Beautiful watch. But you can find all the ones, all the ones. I mean, real. They even have them with leather strap and all that good stuff. Beautiful watch. So yes. It has to be, but still, again, like I'm telling you, it's a watch that, instead of paying $100,000 for a stainless steel Patek Philippe or another $80,000 for a jumbo, 15202, this watch it's a nice watch, it has a name already. It's not an independent brand. This watch has a name already, I'm not pushing this watch on you. I don't even want you to buy it. I'm just telling you that, man, like this watch is the blue dial. It's a 38 millimeter, and I'm going to tell you, don't pay for that watch. If you can find it out there, don't pay for that watch more than $9,200. And I'm just letting you know, and they're beautiful watches. I mean, you have a lot of independent watches out there, and what they're asking, ladies and gentlemen, is disgusting. The Batum watch, they're asking you $75,000. 4C, Gerald 4C, whatever, they're asking you won't believe. And this is independent, watch companies, they made them in the backyard of the house, and they became big with those watches. But, I don't know. I mean, what they're asking is unbelievable numbers. And I thought that you guys should know about that watch. That watch is very sexy, I mean, Okay, you wouldn't pay more than $7,500, and that's wonderful. Maybe you can go out there and get that watch for $7,500. This is a brand new watch. It's brand new, 2025, with all the bells and whistles, and they have that. And I was, the reason I say this to you guys is because I see a lot of you that you spend some heavy money on watches that basically you're not. Like, let's say if you lose on a Loretto, what are you gonna lose? 4 or 5,000. When you lose on those other watches, you're gonna lose 20, 25, 30. Tu sabes, if you buy a Patek Philippe Nautilus right now, you buy it for $90,000, stainless steel blue dial, And when you're gonna go sell that watch, you're not gonna get $90,000 for that watch. You're not. Shave off automatically, shave off $25,000. Shave off. So right there, that's the amount you're gonna lose. But you're not gonna lose that with those watches. So, and we are, all of us here, we love watches. And this is the reason I'm taking the time to talk to you about this, and this watch, ladies and gentlemen, will really bug me out about this Gerald Perregaux Loretto. You're going to say, wow, they must have been spying on all these people, on the IWC engineer, on the Aramas Piquet 15202 Jumbo Royal Oak, and the Patek Philippe Nautilus. Ladies and gentlemen, this watch was released. Does anybody know what year this watch was released? This Loretto? I want to hear if anybody knows. If you Google it, it's no good. If you Google it, it's no good. Does anybody know what year that watch was released? You're going to be surprised. Nobody knows? 1975. That watch was designed in 74 and it was relaunched in 1975. So that watch was right next to the Nautilus, right next to the AP Royal Oak, and right next to the IWC Engineer. They got somebody, an in-house designer to do that watch. So they got the orthogonal. It's what it was. It wasn't that Italian. That's all right, Mr. Donut. This is your channel. You can say whatever you want. It wasn't that designer Adolfo Natalini. It was an in-house designer, and they kept it anonymous. But it came out like that. If you look at all those watches, you would think that Loretto was made by Gerald Genta. And it wasn't. Exactly. It wasn't. It wasn't a Gerald Genta design. I do believe. You have a company of clothing, and I'm going to tell you this because I want to try to explain to you the subject of the Gerald Perregaux and the watches that Gerald Genta designed. You have company designers that make unbelievable clothes, unbelievable clothes. And you have another company which is called Zara, I think it's called Zara. And these people, the clothing that they are designing, man, they're like 95% the same thing as the real designers that made them, but for much, much less. Like, let's say a shirt from a real designer costs you $700. With Zara, you're getting it for, $89, $79, that price. But let me tell you, the same thing that happens with all these designers, it happens with Zara. Zara's copying basically all these people, and there's nothing you can do about it. They have tried everything. And the guy is a zillionaire, is a billionaire, and he's anybody that's a star. If you're doing something with Prada, if you're doing something with Gucci, if you're doing something with, whatever it is, Versace, these people will do it with the same material and with a 75% less than those people. And this is what I believe happened with Gerald Perregaux and their watch when they did the Loretto. They snooped around and they saw, oh yeah, everything it's octagonal. And let me tell you, man, this guy, he was ahead of his time. Gerald Genta didn't have nobody around him. There was nobody around him that could compete with him in his designs. He was brutal with his designs. He really, really was. So just to let you know, I also want to ask a question to all of you there, to all of you out there. What two watch brands you think has the biggest rivalry against each other? What two luxury watch brands have the biggest rivalry against each other? Don't Google it. Don't Google it, because if you Google it, the game is no good. Does anybody know? Does anybody know? Wow, nobody knows. Incredible. 19 AP versus Patek. Coño, you know what? You gotta talk to the gentleman by the name of Peter Giogan. Peter, he's on target. The biggest rivalry in watches, the biggest rivalry in watches is Rolex and Omega. The biggest, hands down. The biggest two, they go at it. It's not Patek. It's not this. Maybe Patek with AP, but not the biggest. The biggest showdown is Rolex. Thank you very much. It's Rolex and Omega. They're at each other's throat, and they say they're the champions and they're the best. And so somehow you have to understand that when they did Chrono, I don't think Omega was the first to do Chrono, but I do believe that Omega was the first to do a pocket watch chronograph, pocket watch, and they were there, they were there, so they fight, they're fighting always, because you gotta admit that if saludos Alex, saludos, if you would, if Omega would also stop doing these sardine cans, bracelets and casing, maybe their watches, but they're still made, that flingy fling, I don't know if I'm making sense to you, but when that stainless steel it's not really, right. And let me tell you something, Rolex had that type of casing as well. If you go back to the 80s and the 90s, they were still making watches that were flimmy, in stainless steel. They looked like it was going to break until they started getting better, doing it better. Rolex, I'm talking about Rolex. Rolex and Omega were doing the same stainless steel. It was kind of cheap and better, but Rolex said, let's try to make it better, Bet Omega too, but it's still, it's not. But it's the biggest rivalry in the watch business, Omega and Rolex. And like I told you, the first one to do a chronograph watch. I mean, I don't really know who it was, but I know that Longines was also there too. Longines. They were there. But Omega was the first to do a pocket chrono watch. They were yes, Briguet, correcto, Briguet. So just to let you know about that, because you guys have asked me a few times, who does this. And remember, the Rolex didn't have an in-house, chrono. They were sending all their watches, chrono to CNF, so CNF can do for them their movements. I don't know if you know that. They were doing all their movements for their chrono watches, CNF. Until Rolex decided that they were going to do their own thing. All right, guys? So just to let you know what's going on, I just want to give you a heads up, on this subject, You see? Yeah, they were, I'm telling you. And the thing is, you would think that the ones that would throw the first punch would stay as kids and, Longines. If you went to any baseball game, as my dad would tell me, any baseball stadium back in the 50s, and 60s, you would see the time clock, the stadium was Longines, Longines. You didn't see no Rolex, you saw Longines. It was like the Major League Baseball, clock, time in the stadium. You know what I'm trying to say, So I wanted to cover all those subjects with you guys today. About one of the things that really blew me away was the theaters. If you guys were not here, I spoke about the theaters that AMC theaters are giving between Tuesday and Wednesdays. They're giving 50% off their tickets. If the tickets cost $14, it'll cost $7 to go see a movie, because nobody, and I mean nobody, is going to the movies. Nobody. Honestly, I believe one day, if you have a baby in this year, your baby will never know about a theater, because I think they're going to be gone. I think they're going to be gone because there's too much Netflix. I used the word before Netflix, and I got a thunder lightning. So if we get another one, hold on, right? So everybody's tuning into that, and I'm telling you, there's a movie that just came out from, you know, yeah, no, but this is Tuesday and Wednesdays. That's AMC. But ladies and gentlemen, when you hear this one, Regal Theater has come out with a campaign that from November, I think it was, yeah, November to the whole ending the year of December. They are giving every day, Monday through Sunday. You go to the theater, you can watch a movie for $7.99. It's every day. So just to let you know where the situation is in the economy, the dollar is going crazy. The dollar is going crazy, and gold is going up to the moon again. I'm going to say this before I go into the watch market update, that don't fall asleep with gold. Don't fall asleep with silver. Silver is at $50. $50 a troy ounce. $50 again. They're trying to hold it back on you guys, but they can't. El peso está por el piso. The dollar's in the floor, but not in America, in the world. El peso está jodido. The dollars, anywhere you go, wherever you go to, está por el piso. And I'm letting you guys know about that because you guys should know what's happening, around the world. Things are not good. I'm telling you, when you see gold going up, the dollar is just dropping faster than Bill Clinton's pants in an Arkansas farmhouse. Nobody's going to tell you this. They're going to keep on telling you the same thing, that the watch market is up and running. Everybody is buying watches. Nobody's buying watches, man. Nobody. There's a watch show that's going to happen this week coming up now on the 14th through the 16th. But, you know what? It got to the point again that I asked a question before, and I don't know if somebody really gave me a solid one. This gentleman from Pennsylvania Avenue, again, is promising to give $2,000 to each person of the United States of America as a stimulus check. He gave a couple of them when he was in office the other time, and now he's giving two more. And I told you, ladies and gentlemen, that those stimulus checks, they came out like a rose. Everybody was getting stimulus checks, and they were buying this, they were buying that. They were buying, tablets, all these things they were buying. They were buying wishy-washy stuff, And so exactly, so you guys, I'm trying to give you a direction. Are they going to give? Exactly, Coño Alex, you're beating me to the punchline. You're part of the show. Listen to what Alex said, because that's coming now too. It's coming now too. It's going to come. What Alex is saying is going to come back. It's going to come back again. That P. You need money again. You need money again. You need money again. Because, I thought the $2,000 were for the 42 million Americans that haven't had, no food to give their families, the SNAP, the EBT, will come during, okay, you think so? So, well, I think it's going to happen, Papi. Listen to me. I mean, I'm telling you that things are bad out there. I do not know what cities you guys live in, and that's fine, but I live in Miami, Florida, and let me tell you, man, the way they're picking up cars is the same way people are standing in a line in a grocery store asking for people to buy them a loaf of bread. A loaf of bread. Today, somebody asked me to buy them 2 loaves of bread, Cuban bread, pan cubano, That's the the most economic thing you can get. It costs you $1.39, each bread, 2. And I didn't have a problem. Hey, charge you 2 for this lady pan, La situación está jodida, muchachos. You guys don't understand what's happening, and these people keep on enforcing you people that the watch market is up and running. Ladies and gentlemen, do you know how many cars they're picking up here in Miami? They don't know what to do with those cars. And let me tell you something. These people from Miami, they're not riding around in a Chevrolet Malibu. These people are driving Audis, BMWs, Mercedes-Benz, You know what I'm saying? And the real long BMWs, the 7 Series, and those SUV, BMWs. La situación está jodida. This is, papi, I live in Miami where it's an epidemic of people that want to live G-Wagons, all that stuff. You see people living in a house. And if you guys are from Miami, you're going to hear it and you're going to say, Juan is right what he's saying. Juan is right what he's saying. You're going to see people here in Miami that they have a house that costs $600,000, $700,000 and they got parked in front of the house a Lamborghini Murcielago, a Lamborghini Murcielago, a Porsche, a GT2, GT3, and the house costs 700 and the car costs 300, And this is how we live here in Miami. If you guys don't know that, that's how we live, because nobody's going to tell you. This is why all these people are going to get all those, if they do give them out, the stimulus checks of $2,000, after the stimulus check of $2,000, then it's going to come unemployment. Unemployment. People are not going to have no money. You're going to go out of employment, to get $400 a week, $300 a week, And then after that one, if you have a company, you need PPP loans, here they are again. Papi, this is worse. You know what I'm trying to say, Damon. You're a smart man, You're a brilliant mind, but you have me. You have me to hear. It is true, It's like that. You see these mumbo jumbo driving these cars, and you look at them, and then second of all, you see these guys. They're 45 years old, and they have that car parked in their mom's and father's house, Because their house is that house payment, that car payment of $3,000 a month, or $2,000 a month. They live over there in Westchester with their mother and their father. The guy is 46 years old, living with mom and dad. And what is he going to offer to a woman when he meets out there? You know what he's going to offer her? His Lamborghini Murcielago, porque está pasmado, está bruja. You know what I'm saying? You understand me? Papi, I say what it is, You guys are not going to like it. It's what it is. Un lambón, un palomo. This is the #1 watch market. I dare any Cuban. I dare any Puerto Rican. I dare any Panamanian, any Dominican to come and tell me yes or no. Tell me no. Hey, I double dare you. I triple dare you. How's that? I cuatro veces I dare you. 4 times. You know what it is? 46-year-old guy driving a Porsche GT3 that costs $300,000 and living in mom's house. Mom's house has a master bedroom. Check this out. I'm gonna give, because I'm gonna tell you how it is. Mom and dad have the house. It's their house, and mom and dad has a master bedroom with their own bathroom. You know what mom and dad does? They leave out of that room that has the bathroom for the mother and the father, which are the owners of that house, to give it to Lambon, a 46-year-old that has the Porsche GT3 and the Lamborghini parked in the driveway. You know what they have there? They have an insect. They have an insecto. They got pus in the corner of their nail. Pus. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm telling you, it's crazy, It's crazy. And what do? I give you this because I'm like that. Somebody got to tell you, They don't want to hear this. We live in a city where we have, coño, papi, I got to tell you, man, of pretenders. In this city, we have, it's crazy, man. We have pretenders here, man. We have pretenders, You know what I'm trying to say? No, and they have a Richard Mille. They got the Lambo, they got the Richard Mille, and they live in mom and dad's master bedroom for him, so he can take a shower through the morning, so he can bring his date to the house. 46 years old, papi. Eso es un bochorno, papá. Eso es un bochorno. It's an embarrassment. Guys, listen to me. I don't know how old your children are. I don't know how old they are. But you can't tell me that you have a house, that you've worked like Damon, like Mr. Blair, Mike, etc., Thurston Howell III, Mr. Donut. You worked all your life and you got the American dream. You got a house. It's yours. But you have a son, which is one of those people, those, millennials, no offense with no millennials. You guys are incredible, millennials. But it's incredible that the son walks in to the house one day and the son says to the mother and the father, Mom and Dad, we need to talk. The son tells the mother and the father, Mom and Dad, we need to talk. Listen to this. Beautiful, papá. Felicidades. Éxito siempre. Let your daughters know about what I'm going to say now. Let your daughters know what I'm going to say, Damon. So the guy walks in, 39 years old. 39 years old. And the mom and the dad said, okay, Timmy, what do you want to talk? He says, Mom and Dad, now that we're going to become roommates, we got to respect each other's space. You understand what I just said? You understand what we're going through in life? You know what it is, a 39-year-old man? You know what it is, a 39-year-old man tell his father and his mother, we need to talk. We need to talk because now that we're going to be roommates, we have to respect each other's space. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have so many of those here in Miami. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. It's the most disgusting thing you can see. I have two children, and both of them have their own place. They have their own place, and I show them you need to have your own privacy, to do your own thing, to live how you like, to invite who you want to invite. You know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say, Jose Diaz. And you have these people that live like that, If in my time I could have lived with my father and my mother, I will have a Ferrari, I will have a Lamborghini, I will have whatever I wanted, but I couldn't. I had to go pay rent, pay light, pay cable, pay phone bill. But here in Miami, it's disgusting. Papi, you see them, they come out, I just got up, a 45-year-old body, living with the father and the mother, waiting for the mother and the father to delete so they can take over the house, Because these lambones, there's no way in the world today, for you to buy a property here in Miami, Florida, Bobby, I don't want to tell you, but it's disgusting. If you don't have $1 million to buy a property, está jodido. Está jodido. I remember when we first did our house, and we had the little land, us, me and the wife. And we did the little land, and we went to the bank and did this, and we did a house, right? And you did a house back in the day, for $500,000. And that was an unbelievable house. But those days are over, man. You can't go buy nothing for $500,000 here no more. You can go buy an efficiency in Hialeah, over there, something, one of those trailers, you can buy. Pero ya se terminó. It's over. And we are living that way here. You're living in mom and dad's house. You have a Rolex Daytona Meteorite dial. You took mom and dad's, beautiful room because you needed the master bathroom. Because tú eres una señorita. You're a woman. You need that room. You need that room. But you know who's the worst one that did that? The parents. No. You can sleep in the sofa. You can live in that room over there, in the guest room, but me and your mother are not going to give you our room or our bathroom. The mother wants to get up to the middle of the night, use the bathroom, the father, and this much sugar. Help me out, guys. If you think I'm lying to you, tell me. I want you to tell me if I'm lying or not. You tell me. It's like that. And this is what's going on. And, and I tell you the truth because nobody's going to tell you the truth. You don't understand. Those watch dealers, those are the kind of clients they like. Those like that right there, You drive a gold fast car, a nice, luxury watch, and you live with mom and dad. I'm not, Bobby, thank you so much, gentlemen. I'm not lying. I don't practice lying. I don't practice, but let me tell you, man, you tell all your daughters, When they come to Miami, aquí lo que hay un bonche de pretenders. There's a bunch of pretenders living here. They cannot take care of your daughters. They cannot. Maybe Sweet Kino can do that. Maybe Sweet Kino can do that, you know? But that's it. You know? That's how it is. Maybe if you want a house, you need to go over there to, over there, the other side over there, the West Coast, the West Coast. They have houses there now that, palm trees are growing inside the house because nobody's buying. Over there, I forgot the name of the place over there, not Fort Myers, Cape Coral, that area over there, eso es lo que hay, papá. And people don't want to hear that. People, when they hear me, say, oh, man, he's talking about me, man. People that watch this channel say, oh, man, he's describing me. Of course I'm describing you. You can't go pay rent $4,000 a month. You can't pay $4,000 a month, papi. $4,000 a month? Come on, papi. You got to bring big money. $48,000 just in rent. Forget about the cable. Forget about the internet. $48,000. Who's going to pay your insurance? Who's going to pay their insurance? Who's going to pay their phone bill? Their father and their mother. I'm not singling out Latin people. I mean in general, papi. Americano, Judío, Indio, Boricua, Puerto Rican, Cuban, all there. So you don't make a mistake. So you don't think it's just, I'm talking about one person. No, papi. Aquí es pretending all day, every day. It's the most incredible thing you can see. People that have a beautiful Lamborghini and a beautiful time machine, and they don't have $20 to invite a girl to, have a Shirley Temple. They don't have it, papi. Tan jodido. Pero I gave you that rundown for free. When you come here, you leave smarter. When you come here, you leave smarter because I'm like that. I'm going to give you a watch market update. And here it goes, ladies and gentlemen. This is a Patek Philippe Nautilus, 5726 stainless steel with a leather bracelet, leather bracelet. Unbelievable. The retail price of this watch at one moment was $50,860, but as time went by, it went all the way up to $62,310. And at one moment, it was $180 in the Corona beer era. And I'm going to tell all of you, ladies and gentlemen, you do whatever you want. Remember, this is stainless steel, the casing, and a leather bracelet with a smoke dial. Smoke dial. Don't pay for that watch. You do whatever you want, but don't pay for that watch more than $67,000 in dropping. It has a moon face as well, okay? You have that one. The next one, ladies and gentlemen, is a Patek Philippe Nautilus 5712 white gold. White gold. The retail price of that watch is $55,590. It also has a leather with a buckle, leather strap, and at one moment it was over $180,000 in that Corona era, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to be honest, you do whatever you want. It's a beautiful watch, 40 millimeter, beautiful watch. Don't pay for that watch. You do whatever you want, but don't pay for that watch more than $68,000 and dropping, okay? You do whatever you want, ladies and gentlemen. Prices are like that. We play with them. And I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have to buy that watch, if you wait, it's going to keep on dropping. Right now, all these watch, channels, watch platform groups, all of them, exactly what it is, They don't even want to take out. Listen to me so you understand this. They do not even want to put for sale Patek Philippe Nautilus, and they rather put a Patek Philippe Aquanaut. But the Nautilus, they're hiding it because you can fool some people sometimes, but you cannot fool them all the time. It's what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, our next watch is a Patek Philippe Nautilus 5711 stainless steel. 5711. The piano dial. White one, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this watch had a retail price of $34,890. At one moment in that Corona era, that watch was over $190,000. Over $190,000. and people gave away their children's tuition money like it was a joke. And I'm gonna tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you do whatever you want, but don't pay for that watch more than $93,000 in dropping, okay? You do whatever you want. You know, this watch was unbelievable. I'm telling you, it was, unbelievable, rare, piano. But I gotta tell you what it is, Oh my God, look at you. Wow, 92. Good for you, Mr. Donut. You're on target. Ladies and gentlemen, our next watch, unbelievable, that Mr. Donut. He knows the numbers, man. You can't, you can't. And this is why this is the #1 watch market update show, chosen by no other than Fudinki. And what do we get for doing this? We get this reward. We get a reward like this. We give you the precious metal material prices. We give you a little bit of politics. We give you a little bit about watches, what watches you can, look at. We keep you, safe. We keep you safe. But it's what it is, ladies and gentlemen. It's a sleeper. It is a sleeper. It is. No. It is a sleeper. If you ask me, blue dial or white dial, man, to me the white dial, you put it on. And I have borrowed the white dial just to see. And I have a blue one, and it's the blue one, está apagado, it's off. But the white one is lit up, man. It's lit up. It pops. It pops like those people say, like those, those subscribers, those people, those Muppet Boiler Room secondary grade watch market dealers. They like to use the word pop, 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 so I'm going to use it too. All right? I'm going to use it too. Ladies and gentlemen, our another watch here is the Patek Philippe Nautilus 5726 stainless steel with a blue dial. The retail price of that watch, ladies and gentlemen, it was at one moment $56,180. The retail price, and now it's $68,712. This watch went all the way up. It went all the way up to $250,000. Unbelievable. This is disgusting, but it is what it is, and I'm going to have to tell you the truth and nothing but the truth. Don't pay for that watch. Don't pay for that watch. You do whatever you want. It's your money. I understand you have money. I understand. But don't pay for that watch more. Don't pay more. Diablo. Está bien, papi. Está bien. Don't pay more than $94,000 in dropping. Blue, papi, blue. Papi, blue, white. Tú sabes, forget about that, man. Forget about that now. These people are pulling their hair. If you are in Miami this weekend, in Miami, I think it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Somebody else is becoming a promoter and bringing in, watch manufacturers, watches that you like, this, that. If you go there, you might bump into, the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown, the mad scientist, deputy boxing black eyes, the Walrus fat bastard, the hungry hippo Mr. Magoo. You might bump into those people, the two toddler body brothers. You might, go there. It's like $20 to go in. You take a look-see, Is anybody here from Miami? Anybody in the show? Nobody? Nobody's from Miami? That's right. Exactly. Jose Feliciano, the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown. What? Ladies and gentlemen, are you hearing what one of our subscribers, what he just wrote down? Take a look, see what he wrote down, ladies and gentlemen. You have to see what he wrote down. This is unbelievable. Is that for real? Is that for real, ladies and gentlemen? Wow. Mr. Donald, did you see what Alex wrote down? Talk to him because he still hasn't answered me. Is that for real, Alex? Just tell me yes or no. Because if you told me yes or no, I'm going to tell you why I'm saying that. Wow. No, but Bobby, if that's happening, man, wow. And I told Sweet Kid Kino, I told him that he will be the last to be let go. Kino said that they will fire him, and I protected him because he's Puerto Rican like me, So I said, but I can't believe that. Wow. Papi, no hay dinero ya, papi. There's no money out there. There's no money out there. No hay dinero, papi. There's no money. You cannot be driving a BMW Keith that costs $125,000. You know, we're getting a draw against commission. If you guys don't know what a draw against commission is, you Google it because I don't have time for this today. Draw against commission. No te da, papi, no te da, no te da. It does, no te da. So, I'm just letting you know. I'm letting you know. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm stunned what, Alex has told me and shared with me, that the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown is gone. And that's it. If he's gone, that's it. Yeah, you're done, because he was, I believe, you can see the body language. I believe that the deputy boxing Black Eyes has some kind of love for him. He cared for him, He came a long way, but yeah, you can't pay them, papi. These people don't even make no more watch content. They don't make no more watch content. Ya no hay más, papi. There's no more. Ya no hay más pendejo. There's no more suckers out. That's what I said in Spanish. Ya no hay más pendejo afuera. There's no more suckers. It's what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, our next watch is the Patek Philippe Nautilus 5712 Rose Gold. Unbelievable. Retail price is $55,590. It was over $200,000 in that Corona era. Over $200,000. And ladies and gentlemen, do yourself a favor and don't pay for that watch. You do whatever you want. You do whatever you want, but don't pay for that watch more than $93,000 in dropping. You do whatever you want. It's your money. Today's Patek Philippe. We're going to give it to you how it is. We're going to give it to you. We're going to give it to you how it is. Ladies and gentlemen, our next watch is a Patek Philippe Nautilus stainless steel 5980 with a blue dial. This watch has a retail price of it had a price of $42,000, and then it went up to $53,100. Over $200,000 in that Corona era. And don't pay, ladies and gentlemen, you do whatever you want, but don't pay for that watch more than $87,000. This is what it is, papi. Esto es lo que hay. Esto es lo que hay. Papi, la gente no tiene dinero. They're waiting for that stimulus check. And let me tell you something. That stimulus check is going to give a push. These Muppet boiler room secondary gray watch market are going like this. Because they know they'll take the guy that lives in the house, the father's house. They got the master bedroom with the bathroom. It has the Lambo and the watch. He'll take his mother's $2,000. He'll take his father's $2,000. He'll take his baby brother's $2,000, his $2,000, and he'll go open a couple of bottles of champagne, in the club. Esto es lo que hay, papá. Esto es lo que hay. What you need to do is buy gold. Gold is cash. You know what J.P. Morgan said in 1912, Buy gold. Everything else is just credit, And people don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that. They still want to keep on hearing, the Lambo, the Ferrari, the Porsche GT3, I'm popping the bottles, the mommies, the shiki boom boom. Papi, esto está todo jodido, papá. Esto está todo jodido. I know what I'm trying to tell you, ladies and gentlemen. You need to know this. Ladies and gentlemen, our next watch is the Patek Philippe Aquanaut 5167. Beautiful watch, ladies and gentlemen. Stainless steel. This watch, when it was first released, it had a price of $24,250 retail. Wow, Charlie was no more in the selling team. Wow, man. Alex is saying that the Puerto Rican Charlie Brown, let me tell you, that saddens me, man. It gets me sad because, I have a name for him in a sweet way, but, he's a good kid and, it's tough out there, man. It's tough, man. It's tough. It's tough. He's going to have to learn how to fix robots, for Amazon, 1 million robots. You're going to have to learn, You're going to have to learn about that. But ladies and gentlemen, this Patek Philippe Aquanaut 5167 stainless steel retail price was $24,250. Then it jumped up to $29,875. And I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you do whatever you want, but don't pay for that Aquanaut. Don't pay more than $55,500, all right? This is what it is, Maybe you're wrong, and that's fine, papi. This is part of our show. This is your show. Poño, Mr. Dona, you're on fire. You're on fire, Mr. Dona. Wow. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, our next watch is a Patek Philippe Aquanaut 5164 Rose Gold. This watch had a retail price at one moment of $62,690. and it has a retail price now, the new one. You're not going to believe this. It's going to knock your socks off and blow your hair back, you know, of $78,386. That's the retail, Bobby, the retail now. And I'm going to tell you, because I'm stupid like that, don't pay for that watch more than $96,500. You do whatever you want. It's your money. You do whatever you want. You do whatever you want. Ladies and gentlemen, our next watch is a Patek Philippe Nautilus 5811 white gold. The retail price of that watch when it was first released a couple of years ago, I'm telling you, this is what's going on with Patek. You're going to go, coño, it's crazy. Please tell me when I give you the numbers, how much more is it now? When it first was released 2 years ago, it was $69,790. And I remember the Deputy Boxing Black Eyes was already parading and saying that that watch was going to go to $275,000. $275,000, right? $275,000. And it was $69,790. And today, ladies and gentlemen, ready? It costs $89,767. Today, it costs $89,769. You tell me, Papi, that jumped up, what, $20,000 more? Retail, $20,000 more, right? 20,000. These people have it out there for 160, 165. Nobody's gonna buy that watch for that. Nobody, Papi. Nobody. Exactly. You guys are right. Don't pay for that watch more than $139,000. $139,000. It has a 41 millimeter casing, 5811 blue dial, stronger blue dial. Don't pay more than that. I know what I'm telling you, Papi. This is why we are chosen the #1 watch market update show in the world. And we do it for free. For free we do it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Patek Philippe fully. It was born this way, you know? Some people will take the 5712, they will take off the leather strap, they will buy a $30,000 Patek Philippe bracelet, put it on, and they will convert it into that. This one is a Patek Philippe born 5712 rose gold. Ladies and gentlemen, when this watch was, again, write this down. When it was released, it had a price of $82,800. $82,800. And ladies and gentlemen, now the retail is $106,838. You know, you tell me. You tell me. And I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, for your own good, they're out there asking. I'm going to tell you this. They're out there asking for that watch. Achilles is fully rose gold. And it was born fully rose gold. And that is the price. You were saying that's the retail price you were saying, Achilles? The retail price? Okay, maybe then that's the retail price then. But I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, 240, 225, 265. These people are going crazy. They don't know what, they're erratic all over the place. All over the place, 198, all over the place. Don't pay. And don't pay for that watch. Beautiful watch. Don't pay. Don't pay more than $187,000, all right? Don't pay more than $187,000. Wow. You went low on that one, Papa. You went low. You went low, but beautiful. Listen to this watch, because this watch, if it's not one of my favorite, it's, you know, I always say this is my favorite Patek, you know, from them. This is the Patek Philippe Nautilus white gold perpetual calendar 40 millimeter, the 5740. 5740. Unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, this watch, it has a price that it keeps on going up and up and up and up and up. Sick watch. 5740 white gold, blue dial, monster watch. And ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to believe this. The retail price of this watch is $194,754. $194,754. And I'm going to tell all of you, because I am stupid like that, don't pay for that watch. You do whatever you want. This is under the retail. Under the retail. Don't pay for that watch more than $192,000, and that watch is dropping. Papi, dark times are here, man. Tomorrow when you wake up in Miami, it's going to be at 45. 45, cold weather. For us people, 45. 45 to us is like, it's like the North Pole, the North Pole, Alaska, freezing, freezing. Tomorrow morning when I get up, when I get in my pickup, I got to put the heater on because it's freezing out there. Just to let you know what's going on, just to let you know. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you my last watch market update of this evening. It's going to be cold, Papi. You know it. Okay. Eso es así, Thurston. That's like that. Our next watch and our last watch of the evening, it is the Patek Philippe Nautilus Rose Gold. Brown dial, 5711, 40 millimeter. Ladies and gentlemen, this watch, when they were discontinuing this watch, they were telling people that this watch was going to go to $475,000. I'm telling you, that Corona era finished so many people. It destroyed so many people, man. It really destroyed because, let me tell you, man, every day a sucker gets caught, in the current, the weather, the water, it takes you out, And they told them it's going to go for $475,000. And there were people, ladies and gentlemen, this is no lie, people rushing to buy the watch for $300. People rushing to buy the watch for $325. Disgusting, ladies and gentlemen. Are you guys hearing me? Patek Philippe Nautilus, 5711, 40 millimeter, brown dial. Beautiful time machine. Beautiful, with a retail price, ladies and gentlemen, of $59,140. Wire. I'm going to make it simple for you, Mr. Premium, because, I like the numbers you put. And ladies and gentlemen, don't pay for that watch. I mean, it's disgusting. Don't pay for that watch. And it hurts me to tell you this, but I have to give you the number. Don't pay for that watch more than $142,000, and it is dropping. All right, guys? There it is, ladies and gentlemen. That's my watch market update for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned something. Don't forget to like our video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. All right, guys? I really hope that you guys have learned something. I told you some very important things so you understand how prices are. I told you already what's happening, and I'm gonna tell you one more time. Those $2,000, nobody has been able to. Maybe Thurston Howell will tell me, Thurston, are they gonna give those $2,000? Damon, are they gonna give those $2,000 for real? Mr. Dona, are they gonna give those $2,000? Tell me, sold for $139. There it is. There it is. Anyway, guys, I love you mucho. I love you mucho. Zero chance. Oye, Mr. Thurston Howell, for real. They said it. Yep. For sure they will. For sure they will. Wow. One more. Allegedly no. I doubt it. Wow. Thurston Howell and Damon, they say no. Watch isn't dropping. Oyster. Wow. Okay. All right, guys. Lo quiero mucho. Take care and brush your hair. Good night, guys. Good night. Love you guys. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you. On the other foot, right?